clean voice,
Yeah.
which you do not get to use with this band. Do you miss it? Do you have an outlet for that?
I do, yeah. One such outlet is going to be happening in a few hours on stage with Camelot. And then the other such outlet is new, and that's my solo album, which is just called Elisa, just to keep it simple. So it's very straightforward what it is, but that's an album that's going to be released in 2018 on Napalm Records. And it's literally just me just doing whatever music I feel like doing, which is very cool because I used to have a few more outlets like that, and I'm totally like more than satisfied in Arch Enemy and totally happy. Like, this is my favorite band, you know. It was before and it is now. But as for the clean singing, it's pretty cool now because since I got actually it was Angela's idea for me to do a solo album, and since I got that idea in my head, I built a home studio. I learned how to play guitar and bass a lot better and how to like program drums, and I've just been like composing songs for myself, and I hope that everybody else likes it when they hear it, but like for me it's just a great sort of outlet to have, and it also sort of just keeps my musical gears rolling for writing Arch Enemy stuff too, and just keeps my vocal chops in shape. So that's going to be the next like big outlet for my clean singing voice.
Looking forward to it, but you let the cat out of the bag, because I interviewed Camelot this afternoon, and I said, you got all these people on board that have sang with you. Any joining you on stage? Well, we don't know.
They already put it on their Instagram. I can't believe I saw it.
So talking about sort of writing poetry, Arch Enemy lyrics, and solo lyrics, do you go into a writing project not knowing how it's going to turn out, or do you compartmentalize it?
I think my writing style has changed actually, because I used to just like write the poem and then just like make it fit in the song, which is why in the past my lyrics are like 3 pages long. With Arch Enemy, like Mike and I were discussing, I sort of let the music dictate what the rhythm is going to be a little bit more for the lyrics, and I make it fit that way. And for my solo project, Elisa, I've been doing it both ways actually. I've been sometimes writing from vocals down, so I'll have lyrics, think of the melody, compose it on piano, and then write guitars and bass and drums to it. And sometimes I just write like a bunch of guitar riffs that I think are good, and then I put the drums and the bass on that, and then the vocals are last. So I kind of go both ways, but I have noticed that when I start with the vocals and work down, the songs tend to be more like rock-ish, and when I start with the guitars and work up, they tend to be more metal. So I don't know. It's just an observation that I recently made myself. So yeah.
Jeff, you've been on 70,000 Tons before with Nevermore, Sanctuary. You have
very first one, actually.
Yes, me too. You have such an awesome pedigree music-wise. Of course, your solo band is outstanding as well. There might be some people out there listening to this who may not be as familiar with you. How has your life changed since you have become an Arch Enemy?
It's been fantastic for me because I obviously miss touring quite a bit, and I was just kind of sitting around at home. And I joined the band really, really quickly because they were already on tour, and I went to go see them in Seattle, and Mike had given me a call, and basically went to see their show, and that day it was decided that I was going to be the replacement for Arch Enemy for Nick Cordle. And so I literally learned the songs in about 2 or 3 weeks and jumped on tour with them in Europe. And it's been kind of a non-stop ride for me ever since, like 2 years have just flown by.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a fantastic experience. I've known the guys for a long time. We toured together when I was in Nevermore back a while ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a great time so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, feel at home.
Great.
What do you guys enjoy more, the creative side of this or the performance side?
I think both. I think both are really important. I mean, if you don't have any new music to play, you get sick of all the old stuff. But if you just sit and write stuff and record it, you'd never really sort of like get the response, like the direct response from anybody. All you'd be reading sort of like reviews of an album. But now you actually get to meet people sort of like face to face. You see their reaction, and it's also why you start playing music. I think more than anything is to actually to play live.
For me, it was about playing live. That was the driving force.
Yeah.
Like getting shows. I mean, you jam, but you weren't really recording that much. Like when we
No, but
started out
if,
as kids,
if you got like one of your demos reviewed in a fanzine, that was like, yes, this is major. That was like getting a gold disc.
There's also much more when we started out where, from that generation, it was actually really expensive to record and stuff like that. So it wasn't really, we just did like rehearsal recordings and stuff like that, and then wrote. But you built up a repertoire, but you kind of like ditched songs, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you just had your favorite, and then you hopefully got a gig. I think we all grew up, playing on stage. Now with home recording and the way things can be done now with computers, and you find there's a whole new generation of musicians that are much more proficient with software and recording, like bedroom shredding. They have a little career on YouTube and stuff like that. They create their own backing tracks. Probably never play shows. So, but for me, it's like a musician. You prove your worth on the live stage. I'm old school that way, So because there's no faking it on stage, although sadly nowadays there is. For me, but you can tell. I think when you see a great guitar player, a great singer, a great drummer, a great bass player, a fantastic musician perform and put that energy, heart and soul into their live performance. That's something that you can't fake. I think that's what metal and hard rock and music. I love this kind of live music. Really, that's really what I'm into. I'm into hearing like the personality of a player. I can't remember what the question was. I'm just kind of
The creative side or the live side.
Oh, really? Yes. So I think we all enjoyed the live side a lot because we get to perform what we do. But then you couldn't do that without writing music as well. It's so much fun putting new stuff together. It's very satisfying, of course.
Yeah, so one of the greatest things is like when an album is starting to like near completion. All the instruments are there. The more and more you put on it, it's like you start to hear something like take shape, and that's like endlessly gratifying. Especially you hear like the mixes and it's like, wow, like that simple riff that we heard in the rehearsal room when we started to work with. That is now this thing, and it sounds awesome, and like that's great. And then the first thing you think about is like you just sit and listen to it, and you imagine standing on a stage,
Exactly.
playing
I was
it.
gonna
It's
say
like
that.
so that it's one thing comes from another.
I think we always, that was what I was thinking as well. Like when we've written something great, we always think, can't wait to play this live, or what the fans are going to think about this. So it's just both. Really. You can't really choose.
A question that's often asked of musicians regarding audiences is, do you notice differences between South Americans, European crowds, Americans, and so forth? Obviously, in a cruise like this, where it's one big melting pot, it might be difficult to distinguish. But obviously, in your regular touring experiences, I would be interested to hear your responses, because Arch Enemy is a band of different nationalities as well. I would love to.
The naval audience that we have here is very, very
Very nautical.
Yeah, they're extremely nautical in their ways. Right?
Yeah. But what are I would love to hear your take on what you think are the biggest differences or the things that stand out with different crowds of different parts of the world.
I mean, I think like Latin America.
They're the loudest and the craziest.
Yeah, the loudest. Yeah, and you
The
see.
harder the country, the crazier the audience.
Exactly. That's sort of what I would. Because a little bit like around the Mediterranean, you have the same thing as you have in South America, but like not as crazy as South America or Mexico, like for that.
Right.
Yeah, there's a definite
Yeah.
difference between them. And I've noticed, I mean, we've all toured with multiple bands in these places, but I've, personally touring with like 3 very different bands through all these places, I see the same patterns in the audiences. There's like a distinct difference between like a Latin American crowd or a North American crowd, or even just between Canada and the US, there's a difference.
There's a difference between Germany and Holland.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
No,
there's a huge difference.
definitely.
But it's
Yeah.
hard to really pinpoint what it is. But
Yeah.
we've been doing it for a long time. But we're very fortunate. I mean, then we have France, which is one of our
Yeah.
biggest live, what do you call it, markets or whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of where we play a lot of shows, and the band is very, very popular in Europe. It's France and Germany, of course. But they're all a little bit different, which is great.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I think their
Makes it
collective
more,
personality
Makes it more interesting to tour around as well. It's like, you know, wake up in a different country and you're going to have like a completely different response.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
We're very lucky, you know, we're a band that can tour successfully all over the globe. And it takes us a few years every time we put out a record to do that. But we're very fortunate to have that. I mean, I feel bad for bands when there's a lot of Swedish bands and they probably sing in Swedish and they're massive, you know, they play stadiums in Sweden, but they've only ever played in Sweden. Maybe in Denmark or Norway or something like that, but they've never
They just can't
played
not.
internationally. So when we meet musicians like that, or you know, German bands that only play in Germany, or, you know, and I feel they're kind of missing out in a way because it's. But we feel great anyway playing all over the world.
Yeah.
We enjoy it all.
yeah, that's the thing. You get to meet like people from all sort of like, walks of life and different cultures and everything, and you get to take some of it in.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, one of the big perks of doing what we do.
What was your biggest culture shock touring the world? Something like that's really foreign to what we used to.
Well, you know, everywhere. I remember coming to America first time.
But that's the thing. It's like
You know?
in the beginning, like everywhere.
Yeah,
it's a bit-
exactly, yeah.
It's like nowadays, like nothing's really a shock. You're
Right,
just sort of
yeah.
like, oh, okay, so this is how it works here, because you're so used to things being different in
Yeah.
different places. So even if you get to a new place, I mean, never.
We learn to love it as well
Yeah,
because we keep
exactly.
coming back to these places. And, I can't wait to go back to, you know, Japan because they've got that dish that I love, or there's
Yeah.
you know, there's that, you know, all these friends that you have there, or stuff like that, or you know, all over the world we kind of have favorites now, you know.
Exactly.
So it's like I think we'd miss it if we stopped today.
Yeah.
I feel like we had to stay in one place.
Yeah.
We're very used to just moving around a lot all over the world.
Yeah, you can sort of like you long back to certain places, and when you see them popping up on a tour schedule again, it's like, like playing Kuala Lumpur again. Yeah, remember that restaurant? Yeah, the crowd was great, and like, you know, you just think about all these things. You know? So everything is like it's a lot of extras
But
that
when
we
we were
get.
kids and started touring, I started touring like professionally when I was 20, and it was everything was new.
Yeah,
You know, I couldn't believe. You know, I remember my first time I came to America. I landed actually at Miami Airport. I was 20 years old. I mean, just the heat and the palm trees and everything, and the blue sky, and just how big the portions of food were. You know, and how.
you were lucky that my first place in America was Jersey City.
But, you know, it's
No
great,
palm
it's,
trees and sunshine?
Not really, no. I don't
It was
know
the
why.
Garden State.
Yeah, you know, so everything was new then. You know, so it was really exciting.
Yeah.
I wasn't really. I had not traveled a lot as a child, really, around the world. You know, so with my parents or something like that. So for me, it was like I was discovering the world with, you know, my metal music.
Are you working with a producer on this new album?
No, it's going to be self-produced again.
Self-produced.
Like always, really.
So you don't normally do that? You don't bring
We-
somebody in to,
No,
or work at a particular studio to
no.
acquire?
We just do it. Actually, this time we're repeating ourselves with the drums. Well, we're repeating a few things. We did the drums in the same studio, a really nice room. Well, Daniel can talk about that maybe, but we did the drums, same studio as the last album.
Yeah.
With same engineer.
Same engineer.
Everything was the same.
Yeah.
And it sounds killer. So
Songs are the same.
Just playing the same stuff.
different names.
Same songs.
And we're producing it ourselves at various smaller studios in my hometown in Sweden.
Oh yeah.
And what we're going to do, we bring everybody in, and so everybody's going to, my little hometown is going to be a more colorful place. And we're going to do that for a few weeks. And then we're going to go back to Jens Bogren, who mixed War Eternal.
That's what I was
And
going to
he's
ask.
done
The mixer.
a mix and master, yeah. So
Kind of
us, that's
mixers are
more
kind of like
important.
new producers. Bands can do the producing, and then you bring in a mixer to sort of
We
put it
can-
all
I
together
think
for you.
Yeah, we depends. I mean, sometimes it can be good to let someone in and just like, we don't really need somebody to tell us how to write the song. I think, you know, it depends on where you're at in your career, what kind of band you are. You know, we're very, very focused, and I don't really like to let an outsider into the process at all, really.
Right.
Depends on who it is. We did it like Andy Sneap produced one of our albums, And I enjoyed working with him because I respect him very much. You know, he's a killer guitar player himself, and he really knows metal. We're the same age, and but it's for me to let someone else in who's tell me how to. I think I'm really good at writing these songs. That's what I do. As a band, we do it. We're like professionals.
Yeah.
Making Arch Enemy music. And I don't really want a producer to make us sound like the other bands he produces or she produces. It's better like this. If you pre-chorus like that, you drop the song like this or like that, because that's work. That's a formula. I think it's more fun when we just do it all ourselves, and you can hear more what we're about as musicians. But then when it comes to the mix, I love just stepping back because.
Right. So you do let them.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go.
Because
Let me
we
hear
throw
it
down
now.
so many ideas, and there's so many layers. And at that point, I'm almost always burned out.
Yeah, fresh ears is what it's all about.
Yeah,
right?
Right, definitely at that point.
But then we're quite particular as well. Then we go in and we want everything to be heard, maybe, or the drums actually the main feature here, so bring back this, whatever. The mix is that's a nightmare. That's one of the toughest jobs you can do.
It's so hard.
Mixing, because
Mixing
everybody.
the demos and-
By the way, if we tried to do it ourselves, if we were good enough to do it, but we have so many different opinions and we would never get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's good to have somebody else. Okay, well this
Yeah, at
is
that
what I
point it's good to have
envision.
someone just kind of. And Jens is doing a great job. We worked with Andy for many years. We work with great people that we trust.
What's your proudest part of this new forthcoming DVD? And even though it was at Wacken where you're already playing before 70 or 80,000 people, is there an extra form of pressure right like that day or before you go on stage, knowing this show has to be extra special because we're recording it? Talk about the mindset of that.
You try to not think of that.
Yeah.
That it's going to be recorded, because if you think about that red light coming on, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you just try to, it's there. But I think for us it was more.
We had that big special production.
We had the
built.
production. And we were more sort of worried about the technical issues with the production more than the actual shooting of the.
At that point, we had 250 shows on this tour under our belt, so we knew the songs as good as we ever going to know them.
Right.
And,
And also just because we knew that it was, Patrick Allegas, was gonna direct and edit the DVD. We knew that it's in good hands. It's not going to be and in mixing it. So we knew so visually and sonically it's going to be good. So as long as we play well.
Yeah.
So it's better. If it would have been this is just like a TV thing or something, it's out of your hands, that's horrible.
Right.
It puts more pressure on your nerves, I think. But
Which
now
it also was,
some
actually.
stuff is just streamed
Which
straight.
it also was.
Yeah, but it also
It
was.
actually went out on TV immediately, didn't it? Yeah. That's true. Well, I think we did a good job. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
But yeah, it would have been worse if it was the first show.
Yeah.
It actually was.
It was.
It
yeah.
was.
That was the good thing. We had a break
It was
before that.
we had a show 2 days before, didn't we?
Right, yeah, the little...
Which was the first one in
Schaffenburg.
Yeah, Schaffenburg. First one in a month and a half.
I don't
Let's
remember.
never take a break again. Let's just.
Let's
fine with
not
that.
take any more breaks. It's not good for us.
So do you have a live mixer then that travels with you?
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
And
we have a
that's
full
so he's
crew.
the guy that you sort of count on.
Yeah,
He's your producer, your sixth member, and stuff like that.
Well, he mixes
No.
the live show. He works the front of house, So
Yeah.
he's responsible for what the audience hears.
Yeah.
We don't hear it, but we...
We have another guy as well mixing our sound on
Yeah.
stage.
Oh, your monitor guy.
Yeah, yes.
And we have people that look after our guitars, tour managers,
Drums and
drum techs,
lights,
pyro,
build
And those are your
shit.
bros. It's all you bring them everywhere.
whatever, So, yeah. We will have our own personal assistants, of course.
Staff of servants.
Yeah, we all have our own chef because we like different kinds of food.
Oh, very nice.
I travel with my own tailor.
Watching you guys last night and watching the DVD, obviously there are a lot of technical pieces going on when you guys are on stage at this point. Is it ever hard to sort of get fully into the performance when you've got to make sure to, you know, be in the right place at the right time for the costume change, or know where the pyro's going to be, that sort of thing?
Well, speaking for myself, you know, coming from a background where I kind of did actually more technical vocals than I do now, it was actually like a huge pleasure for me to just drop clean singing, because I was like, if I can't hear, I can still do this sound, you know? And so, because for me, screaming is a lot easier than clean singing. Clean singing, I really need to hear what's going on, but when you're in a metal band, there's a lot going on. So you don't always hear, like we were saying, on stage, you don't always hear the guitars or the pitch or the keys. Sometimes all you hear is cymbals and kicks, you know? So one thing that was great for me upon joining Arch Enemy a few years ago is I was able to discover this whole new like aspect of my live performance that I wasn't able to tap into before, because I always had to be where the sound was, in front of the monitors, getting my breath, but now I can just like unleash, which is awesome. So you know, people are like, well, when's the clean singing coming? And I'm like, I'm fine with just doing this, actually, because this is a lot of fun. So yeah, for me personally, I just like go crazy. I'm not even thinking about like pyro this, that. I'm just like feeling the music and going for it. Yeah.
As long as we know where the pyro is and when it's going to go.
Yeah. we're notified.
I mean, as well, the musical aspect is not. I guess, you know, when I'm writing stuff, I'm kind of playing at the top of my ability. You know, I think we all do that. And it's really hard to play when we're rehearsing it and getting it. You know, you think when you've recorded the album, it's easy to record it because you're sitting down. Then we start doing shows and you're rehearsing. It's like, how the hell am I going to get on top of this? You know, really be able to move around and perform this. But then after you just get it, and then after a while with, you know, practice, you do it for a while, and it's like you're playing all this stuff, and it's just not. It's just second nature. It's not really something. We're not an overly technical band. We don't want to be. But we have some elements that are probably hard to play, or for someone would just come in. But you would know more about that.
Yeah, it's,
You know,
That's what you did.
you know, because I mean, you know, we have been doing this band since the beginning. But Jeff would know more, maybe, what it's like to come in and just.
yeah, I mean, you have to be a good guitar player to be an Arch Enemy, that's for sure. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff going on, I think, but I don't know.
It's technical, but it doesn't sound technical,
Right.
or whatever. You know, some
It
bands.
translates live.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some bands, you know, there's that whole thing of technical metal where they progressive, where they really try to make it sound. They're impressing you with their technical skills. Where we kind of weave that in and more in the background. Maybe it's the song is the main focus, but there's some stuff that's hard to play. But it's not. That's not really what we're trying to show.
Right.
Maybe we're just really into having the best songs.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one last question, because then we have to move on with other stuff. So,
Daniel. Ask
also it
Daniel.
doesn't matter if there is no last question.
I have one.
Yeah.
Are you glad you didn't sign that contract with Canadian Idol?
I was already in a contract with Century Media, actually.
know.
So
Well, you wouldn't, you know, just as far as where you're at now, where is it?
there was
What direction
never,
that would have taken you?
honestly, that whole thing was fake.
We're like.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
guys.